Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a fascinating and deeply complex source, Assata Shakur's autobiography. We're going to take a detailed look at how this book actually constructs its arguments, presents its timeline, and balances some incredibly powerful dual narratives. So, we're analyzing this specific text, and as you'll quickly see, it functions as way more than just a standard memoir. It's really a deeply political document. It details the author's ideological development, her absolutely grueling legal battles, and her ultimate exile. If you want to understand the intersection of race, law enforcement, and political activism in 1970s America, this is a defining text. Here is our roadmap for exploring the book. 1. The target and the times. 2. Becoming Assata Shakur. 3. The New Jersey Turnpike. 4. Trial by media. 5. Life behind bars. And finally, 6. Exile and legacy. Let's get right to it. Section 1. The target and the times. To really set the stage for the volatile 1970s, the book uses forewords by Angela Davis and Lennox Hines. Hines makes a crucial point here. He emphasizes that understanding the FBI's COINTELPRO program is absolutely essential context. This was a government initiative literally designed to expose and disrupt Black activist groups. Hines argues that you simply can't make sense of Assata's story without first understanding the systemic forces that were actively working to neutralize her. Section 2. Becoming Assata Shakur. Now, what's really interesting about the autobiography is how deeply it delves into the formation of her political consciousness. She doesn't just describe a mental shift. She describes her awakening as a visceral, almost physical reaction to learning about historical Black resistance. Discovering historical figures like Nat Turner completely shifted her worldview. It kicked off this radical reshaping of her entire identity. And this brings us to a brilliant illustration of the text's dual narrative. On one hand, you have the FBI's framing of her under her former name, Joanne Chesimard. They painted her as a wanted fugitive, the mother hen of gunmen. But on the flip side, in stark contrast, stands her conscious self-definition. She chose the name Assata, which means she who struggles. So right from the jump, it's a clear battle for her public identity. To anchor her personal narrative against these massive institutional forces, the book heavily utilizes her own poetry. Take her poem Affirmation, for example, where she asserts her humanity and resistance. It's a really smart structural choice by the author. It constantly reminds the reader to humanize the political discourse. Section 3. The New Jersey Turnpike. Everything in the narrative pivots on the tragic events of May 2nd, 1973. Both the forewords and her own visceral account detail a traffic stop, supposedly for a faulty taillight, that escalated into a deadly shootout. Two people, State Trooper Werner Forster and Assata's companion Zaid Shakur, were killed. Assata herself was critically wounded. The text notes she woke up handcuffed to a hospital bed, where she actually had to wave away a priest who was trying to read her last rites. Section 4. Trial by media. Following her capture, the book outlines these absolutely grueling legal battles. Her lawyer points out the unprecedented, highly prejudicial publicity surrounding her case. Her face was plastered in banks and subways all over New York. The press accused her of bank robbery, kidnapping, murder, you name it. She was effectively convicted in the media long before she ever faced a jury. Hines argues this made getting a fair trial nearly impossible. Just take a look at the autobiography's trial chronology. It illustrates a staggering array of serious charges brought against her across multiple jurisdictions. We're talking everything from armed robbery to the murder of a drug dealer. But here is the crucial point the book makes. Out of all those heavily publicized New York charges, 0 resulted in convictions, not 1. They mostly ended in acquittals, dismissals, or a hung jury. The text uses this as structural evidence to argue that she was being systematically targeted. In fact, her only conviction happened in Middlesex County, New Jersey, for the Turnpike shootout. And Lennox Hines argues in the text that this specific conviction was fueled by local racism, overwhelming media bias, and uncorroborated testimony. The book meticulously deconstructs the state's case against her step by step. Section 5. Life behind bars. Following that conviction, Assata details the incredibly severe conditions of her incarceration. The text outlines a grueling experience. She spent over 20 months in solitary confinement, and shockingly, she was held in a men's correctional facility. She was separated from her child and eventually transferred to a maximum security prison for women. The system essentially treated her as the most dangerous woman in the country. But rather than just recounting the hardship, she uses her confinement to make a broader philosophical point, one that really forces you to pause. Through conversations with her fellow inmates, she argues that for Black people in America, the outside world is effectively just a minimum security prison. As she bluntly puts it, she doesn't know how it feels to be truly free. Section 6. Exile and Legacy. The final sections of the book transition away from her imprisonment. After escaping in 1979, she's eventually granted political asylum in Cuba. The narrative here captures the deep emotional toll of this exile. She details a strained, distant phone call to her aunt, which really highlights the immense personal sacrifice of becoming a political fugitive. And as Angela Davis highlights in her foreword, the state's campaign against her definitely didn't end with her escape. It continued fiercely into the 1990s and well beyond. The New Jersey State Police allegedly pressured Pope John Paul II during his trip to Cuba, governors offered massive bounties, and Congress officially demanded her extradition. Which prompts Assata herself, in an open letter to the Pope referenced in the text, to ask a highly pertinent question. Decades later, why does she warrant such intense attention? What exactly does she represent that the government still considers to be such an existential threat? The book ultimately leaves us examining this very complex, enduring legacy. As Davis points out, her image has been weaponized by the state to justify mass imprisonment. Yet, at the exact same time, her name serves as a potent symbol of revolutionary resistance for movements all across the globe. So we'll leave you with this final, provocative thought derived directly from Angela Davis's foreword. It challenges all of us to look beyond the individual and consider the deeper political forces at play. What ideological work does the image of Assata Shakur continue to perform today? It's a question that makes this autobiography far more than just a history lesson. It's a deeply relevant text for understanding modern systemic power. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the narratives around you.